Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. You might notice something strange about my background. Well, this video is going to be my top 10 most expensive purchases for comics. These are the big buys that I've done, and I've taken them off the wall. So there's a lot of spaces back there where comic used to be. Like you can see all the spaces. But these are my top 10 most expensive purchases. And how did I do? That's the other thing. So I'm going to show you the books that I spent the most on and tell you how much I spent. I'm going to be honest, going to be open, and how much they are worth today. So this is actually, these books, I was shocked actually how much I spent. So hopefully my wife doesn't see this. This was actually inspired by a question that somebody asked me on the channel. And I'd like to thank the person for that. But this is going to be a little bit embarrassing because my wife might not be too keen if she sees this. Fortunately, she doesn't watch my videos. Don't tell her about this video. Please, no, no mentioning this to the wife. Yeah, but I spent a lot. Okay, so the first comic, and it's the number 10 on the list. So you can see that this is going to be a big list by the price that I paid for number 10. Number 10 is this one. This is Blue Beetle, number 54. It's a SOTI book, and it's a SOTI headlight cover book. And this is the reason why it's mentioned. It's like got the headlight cover. It's a beautiful grade, actually. Like for this comic, it's really high to get it in a high grade. This is a 3.5. I paid $4,000 for this. $4,000 for this comic. And at the time, I thought, oh, I'm never gonna get another opportunity. Actually, I could have bought it cheaper earlier, maybe a slightly lower grade. But then the price just shot up. This book became super hot recently. I don't know why, but this book became super hot. So I paid $4,000, and this was only a few months ago. And now it's worth about $5,000. So it's gone up even since I bought it. So a very great book. It's Jack Kamen art. It's just awesome. It's one of my favorite SOTI books. It's just this really great cover. And I love the fact that in the mirror, she has a bra, but on the back, you can see that she's not wearing a bra. So there's that little bit of mystery. What's going on there? So probably they thought better of having it as a nude cover. So I thought that was interesting. And I just like the whole idea of the guy stalking and coming in. So, you know, when I buy these big books, there's a reason. You know, I'm willing to pay that much because I really love them. And it's a Fox, like I like Fox as a publisher. They just went all out. You know, they were crazy. So I just think they're interesting. So Blue Beetle, number 54. This is number 10 on my list. Okay, so the next one is another one. I love the cover. I love this comic. This is a great comic. It's number 7, Wonder Woman number 7. Wonder Woman for President cover. I just thought this was such a great cover. I read the story. It's a great story too. It's like them looking into the future, and it's like 3,000 years into the future, and they have Wonder Woman becomes president, and there's a whole story around, or 1,000 years in the future, not 3,000, 1,000 years into the future. And it's just it's a great story, great comic, and it's early Wonder Woman, golden age Wonder Woman. Great cover. I love this whole Wonder Woman for president thing. I just think it's really awesome. And I paid $4,000 for this. Now, this book, yes, I paid a lot for it. It's a high grade. It's like a 4.5, which is, when I say high grade, I mean mid grade maybe. High grade for what I can afford. I was sort of at the top end of what I could afford. So it's like I paid $4,500 for this book, and it is now worth $4,700. So really hasn't gone up that much. You know, Wonder Woman's, some of them go up, but usually they don't go up that much. You can't really expect to get a huge return on a lot of these comics. You know, they're sort of at the top of the price point anyways, unless there's something special about them, where it's like a new character or something hot, you don't really expect much movement in terms of price. So, but they're more like a blue chip in that respect, that they hold their value and go up slightly over time. So, but this is just a great one. I love this one. I was super excited that I had the opportunity to buy it. I got it from my comic shop, and it's just really great. I just really love it. Okay, so that's Wonder Woman number 7. That's number 9 on my list. Next one is one that you would expect to be higher on the list in terms of price, but I actually got this one through just luck. I was really lucky about this one. And this is Fantastic Four number 1. I paid $5,000 for this book. And what happened was this and the next one I got at the same time. And I kind of put in a lowball offer on Heritage because I knew how much these books were worth. And I didn't really think I'd have an opportunity to win them. And I just happened to win, because what happened was, and I've told this story before, but basically there was a huge auction the like a few days prior. Huge auction. They got all these big books and really high grades and all that kind of stuff. And they promoted it, and like everybody went to that big auction. Then the next couple days later, they had this auction. So nobody came. It was like a really small auction in terms of Heritage. You know, all the promotion had gone to the previous one, and then sort of by that point, I guess everyone spent their money, and this one was kind of under the radar in terms of auctions, but they still had some really great books. And they had Fantastic Four number 1. And as I said, I paid $5,440 for it. And it is restored, and it's extensive restoration. That does bring down the price. But even at that, even with the restoration, I think it was a really great buy. It presents really, really well. And I was kind of happy to get it into my collection. I never thought I could afford this book. And I was surprised when I actually won. I was so amazed. This book, with restored, goes for about $19,200. So I think I did well. So this is a 5.0 copy, restored, but still goes for quite a bit of money. The next one is the other one that I won from that same auction. And there was a third one that I actually won that just didn't make the list. I paid $3,600 for it, so it just was not in the list. So this is SpiderMan number 1. And again, it's a high grade 6.0. It is extensively restored. Includes color touch, pieces added, tear seals, and top edge trimmed. So they did a lot to this book. It's considered moderate to extensive restoration, and it's off-white to white pages. So it is a pretty book, though. I really like it. It just shows, it presents really, really well. It's just it's really great to have this kind of mega grail in my collection, and to have it that presents really well. It's not like, really my budget, I could afford like a 0.5 version of this comic. And then to just get it as a 6 is just really great. It's really wonderful to have this book. One of the things I actually wanted to mention as I'm doing this is the census. I actually didn't mention this before. So that Blue Beetle number 54, there's only 65 of those on the census. It's a really rare book. That's part of the reason why it's so expensive. The Wonder Woman number 7, there's only 78 of those on the census. So really rare books, those two. The Fantastic Four has 2,600 on the census, so it's fairly common. And this book has 4,487 books on the census. So it's a pretty common book, but huge demand for it because it is Amazing Spider-Man number 1. And it's a great one to get in the collection. So I paid for this book $5,760. And it would be worth, in this restored grade, around $16,500. So I did well. And I really enjoy having this in my collection. It's just a great book. Okay, so those are some of the big ones. Okay, so number 7 or 8. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So number 6 on the list is More Fun Comics number 55. Now this one, I've told stories about it where I basically got screwed. I actually bought a copy of it and the person didn't honor the sale, and they ended up refunding me, but they didn't honor the sale, and I didn't get the copy that I originally ordered. And the one that I originally ordered was a 6.0 restored. And I ended up getting a 1.0 non-restored, but cheaper. So the original one was about 10,000, and this one I paid $6,899, which was really great because I didn't think I was going to get it. I actually had 2 opportunities before buying this one to buy this, other than the one that had gotten canceled, and each time the bids just kept on going up. I was like, oh man, there's no way I'm going to get it. And they're all 1.0s. They were all 1.0s. And what happened was one went for 8,000, the other went for 8,000. I'm like, oh man, there's no way I'm going to get it. I was kind of looking around 6,000 to 7,000 was my kind of price range for it. And I saw that somebody had it on eBay. I was like, oh man, somebody has it on eBay, and they wanted 8,000 for it. But they also had or best offer. So I was like, wow, there was just 2 major auctions just happened. Maybe the news of those 2 auctions hadn't hit the general audience yet. So I thought maybe I could get a best offer and maybe get some of the price down. So I offered like 6,000 and he came up to $6,899. So I was happy to buy it for that price. So I was really happy to get this in my collection. This is the first appearance of the Dr. Fate. I was going to say Spectre, but no, Dr. Fate. And it's just a really great book. Just really rare too. So this one, More Fun Comics, number 40, it has 48 on the census. Number 55 has only 48 on the census. This is the rarest of all the books that I'm going to be showing. This is really rare. These More Fun Comics are just super rare. And in any grade, they just really hard to find. A lot of them are restored too. So generally, because they are rare, it used to be common to restore these Golden Age books. So to get it unrestored is actually a big deal. So it is pretty rough though. It is really rough, but I really love it. I just love having this in my collection. So I paid, as I said, $68.99 for it. It's probably worth, based on fair market value, $8,255. So not too bad. I did quite well on that one too. Okay, so next one is another big one. And this one I spent a fair amount on. This is Hulk number 1, first appearance of the Hulk. And when he made his first appearance, he was a gray Hulk. He was gray. And, it was kind of interesting. This is from 1962. It's just a really great book. Hulk. I paid $9,000 for this book. And it was actually slightly less than that, but it was around $9,000. Because not only did I get... So what happened was I paid $9,000, but they gave me a credit of $1,000 for future purchases. So it was actually more like $8,000. But because I did use that credit because they had some other big books that I ended up buying, like the first appearance of Green Lantern. So I used that money to buy the first appearance of the Green Lantern. So I did well. So it was really $9,000, but I got that credit. So this is a 2.0, which is not a high grade. And this one actually has a fair number on the census. It has 1,929 on the census. So it's a fairly common book. These Silver Age books are a little bit more common than the Golden Age stuff. but this was a big purchase. This is $9,000. What I did is I paid in installments, and they were kind of nice about that, allowing me to buy it in installments. It was a local dealer, so I actually drove to pick up the book. Or actually, they drove to my house to drop off the book. I was like, wow, this is really cool. So I was super excited to get this book. Yeah, just a really great book. I love the Hulk. I think he's a great character. I grew up watching the Hulk TV series, so I really liked the Hulk in general. But yeah, so this book, as I said, I paid 9,000. It is worth 13,700. So it's gone up a lot since I bought it. And I bought it at the beginning of this year, so it hasn't been that long. The next big book, this is getting really big now. We're getting into that next level of books, is my Sensation Comics #1. And I paid $11,100 for this. This is the first cover appearance of Wonder Woman. To me, this is the most iconic Wonder Woman because it is her first appearance on the cover. The problem with her actual first appearance is that she's not on the cover. So it's kind of sad in a way. It's a major book, but she's not on the cover. So I actually prefer this book because she's on the cover. I really like Wonder Woman. You'll notice on this list, there's a lot of Wonder Woman because I really like Wonder Woman. So, yeah, as I said, I paid $11,100 for this. There was actually 2 other sales that I had seen, one on eBay and one at Comic Link, I believe. And both had gone for a little bit higher, but had more flaws. So this is they're all 1.5, they're all 0.5s, but they had major issues, like a whole bunch of pages missing, covers were terrible. Like this one actually presented the best. Like the front cover is solid. There's nothing wrong with the front cover. It's just it's quite nice. I even think the back cover is not that bad. It's the big problem is like these little chunks that are out of it along the edge. And what else? The centerfold is missing. So that was a big problem with a lot of these Golden Age books, especially from this era in 1942, was they used crappy staples. They used the worst staples. The staples were generally, they just didn't have much resources back then because of the war. And they would use these kind of little bit too small staples. So the staples wouldn't necessarily grip onto the centerfold. And a lot of the centerfolds would get lost because of it. It would be either detached and the page would fall out. So a lot of that's the big issue with this book. If it wasn't for that missing centerfold, and maybe I can find one and marry it, it would probably grade at around a 2.5 or a 3. I would say something like that in that range, I should say. So yeah, it's just a really pretty book. I love it. Wonder Woman, big fan. Just really love this book. Now this, based on current fair market value, would be worth $13,700. So pretty big book. Okay, so that's my Wonder Woman. The next one is actually a huge book that is actually considered the most valuable book of all time. Is this one. Amazing Fantasy #15, first appearance of SpiderMan. Oh, and by the way, the Sensation Comics #1 had 105 on the census, so it's still pretty rare. This book is actually rarer than I thought it would be. This book has only 68 on the census. I was somewhat surprised by that. And it's a really great book. It's just a really awesome book to have this in my collection. Amazing Spider-Man #1, kind of major. I paid $12,160 for this book. And part of the reason I got it so cheap was it's a qualified grade. What happened was there's a very small coupon that's been cut out of this book. And doesn't affect the story, it doesn't impact the story at all. But it does give it that qualified grade. It's just missing that small, the funny thing is at this grade level, it should still be a blue label because you could have like a chunk the same size chunk out of the cover, and it would get a blue label, and it wouldn't be a problem. But the fact that it's a coupon clipped, somehow it creates a big problem. So it's kind of weird. As a result, it does reduce the value a lot, and you'll see that when I tell you the value. So yeah, just a really great book to have in my collection. First appearance of Spider-Man and Aunt May and all those people, Uncle Ben, and yeah, just a great book, and it presents really well. There's like one chip out of the corner here, but that's really it. It really does present well. The colors are really great, really pop in person. So this book would sell for 22,000 in this grade with the coupon missing. So not too bad. I did well on that one too. Okay, so the last two. So they're getting into the big ones, and you're going to notice a very common theme here, Wonder Woman theme. This is my All Stars number 8. This was one of my biggest purchases, my second biggest purchase. This has a centerfold detached. That's what brings the grade down, and also has a little chunk missing here. And it's a 2.5. This one, I went all out on it because this was a big book for me. This was one I really wanted it. I'm a big Wonder Woman fan. I love this book. I really wanted it. So this one, I paid in installments as well with my local comic book guy. My local comic book guy has amazing books. Like, he's got this crazy collection. He's actually got a complete run of Batman. So he's got some amazing books, and he has a lot of these all-star books. It was just really great. So he kept on talking to me about having this book, and I'm like, oh, I'm really interested. What would you want for it? And I kept on talking him down. Like, I got him down to 15,000 US. These are all US prices that I'm mentioning, by the way. And I was quite happy to get it for 15,000. It had sold at Heritage, this book, the same book, for 14. So it was like only a slight increase that I paid. So yeah, so this was a pretty great book. I got it regraded because when they originally graded it, they made a mistake. They thought that the centerfold had been married, but it wasn't. You could actually see that the tanning was the same, and even the way it was, fit in was, you could tell that it was the same centerfold as the original. So yeah, so this was a pretty great book to get in my collection. First appearance of Wonder Woman, just a really great book. It's sad that she's not on the cover, but you got all the other cool characters on that cover. This book in this grade sells for about 23,000. So it's gone up quite a bit since I purchased it. And it's got off-white to white pages. So actually really good page quality on it too. When we opened it up, it looks so pretty inside. Actually, very beautiful book inside as well. So the next one, and this is the biggest purchase that I've ever made for comics, is my Wonder Woman number 1. I paid 18,000 for this. This is the first Wonder Woman comic, obviously, in terms of her own solo series. Even though Sensation Comics number 1 is her solo series, this is really her solo series where she's the title of the comic. And this one is just such a great book to have. But it is restored. So yeah, that's the only flaw with this book. It is restored, and the restoration is moderate. The restoration includes a small amount of color touch on the cover. I looked, and it was very small. It was like really barely, like, it's something you could easily remove, actually. And then pieces added, cover reinforced, staples, and cover cleaned. So that's the problem. And all 3 edges trimmed. So there's slight trimming on all the edges. So this is the kind of restoration you cannot remove. And that's what brought the price really far down. Because people don't like when you can't reverse the restoration. Once the cover is trimmed, that's it. There's not much you can do. So, however, I don't mind. This is like a small amount of trimming. It's not a big deal. I get why they did it. I don't necessarily like the restored grade, but I do like buying a restored grade if it means saving lots of money on the deal. Normally, this grade, if it was like a 7.5 unrestored, would sell for around 130,000. So it's a pretty pricey book. I told you I paid 18,000 for this. This was my biggest purchase. And again, I paid this in installments because that's the only way I could afford it. And I think it's really great. It presents so well. You can see the back. Everything it really is quite sharp. A really, really, really beautiful copy. In this grade, because it is restored, it's worth $24,000. So that's with the restoration. And, I think that's a steal, actually. I've actually seen lower grades, much, much, much lower grades, sell for more than 24,000 because people love this comic. I've seen 0.5 sell for like 10,000. So I'd much prefer to have this copy because it just shows so much better than some of those really destroyed comics. So that's been my list. I spent a total, and I did the math. Oh, by the way, there's only 178 of those on the census, 188 of All-Star Comics number 8. So those are pretty rare books. I spent a total of $91,459. So that's how much I spent to buy these 10 books. They are now worth $145,355. So basically about 50% increase, 60% increase in value. So not too bad. Considering they're like with the older books, these like kind of more established books, you don't get the price swings that you normally see on some of the other books. These books are much more steady, slow and steady climb rather than massive swings in prices, not like modern comics. But to get that much return on my investment is pretty great. So, yeah. And so it's just amazing to think 10 books and it's worth $145,000, just those 10 books. And if you look behind me, there's a lot of other bigger books, actually. There's books that I bought that I paid less for that have actually gone up more. Like I'm thinking my Tales of Suspense or like the first Iron Man, my Journey into Mystery 83, those have gone up a lot, and maybe actually worth more than some of these books. And so it's been an interesting couple of years where the books have just really gone up in price. But I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been my top 10 most expensive purchases in my whole comic shopping experience. What do you think? What was your biggest purchase? Tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.